Okay, I'm going to unmute and turn our video on and get the Zoom over here. I wish, that would be too hard, wouldn't it? Justin, I'm gonna ask you a question, but I'm sure we probably can't do this. I wish that instead of just looking at me, they could see the view from that camera, but that's probably not possible, right? No, okay, I mean, that makes sense, I just.
You got a little
Yeah.
angel on your shoulder, a little sparkle.
But you can shut off your camera so that the general public isn't being reflected.
Oh,
Keep your screen, yeah, just shut your camera off. The general public sees the whole board.
Yeah.
And then you're in a small.
okay, but then the people on Zoom see nothing, right? Which is fine, so hi, oh, maybe I'll just say hi now. Hi, people on Zoom. I guess I'm turning my camera off, but we're glad you're here. Okay, hold on.
You got a wave from somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Oh, whoops. Oh my gosh.
So, Mr. Broderick, then if I'm eating, everybody can see.
I have it zoomed in on.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Justin, you're gonna get really annoyed with me. I don't know where it went. I pulled it back over, but.
Are these
lines usually?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, maybe.
It's just usually dark.
There it is.
So weird.
It's called March is around the corner.
Would you mind coming to look at it? I'm sorry.
But it doesn't matter if that's in spring break.
Oh, I think maybe I just found it. No? Okay.
So bring back the main Zoom window.
So I do this, and it goes up here, but then I can't see anything. Maybe if I go here and
Yeah, where
go.
did the meeting go?
Oh, here we go.
Okay,
Maybe.
hit escape. I'm gonna steer across for a second. Where did it hide itself?
Right? It's weird.
My son.
Weird.
Let's just, everybody stay home for spring break.
I feel like it didn't do this last time though, but.
And then my daughter said last week, can you watch the dog when we went to Colorado?
It's hiding on like a third screen somewhere, but it's not there. So
Oh.
we'll do that.
No.
Well, that's fine. What does it look like when I drag it though? Can I? Oh, yeah.
So that's.
And then, could you hit, like, what is that one? Oh, that just makes it tiny, right?
So that'll stop your camera. At least it should have.
You don't need to go anywhere for spring break?
There.
Where you going?
So now,
Las Vegas.
so this will give you the controls.
Okay.
I
So,
know.
for
This is
example,
good.
if you want Kaylin on the screen, you can say spotlight
Florida.
photo. Now they're focused.
Was he?
Back here.
She's like, no. Okay.
Why is it not letting me re-spotlight?
Yeah, very nice.
But if you don't want, will it really not let me?
Mr. Broderick, you staying put for spring break? Are you working or just staying in Minnesota?
Some days of work and some days in Minnesota.
All right. Shoko,
Well-
when's your break?
Basically, whichever one you click on, or whoever talks is gonna.
Yeah, right.
Go over there, so.
Okay.
Oh,
So I think we're good.
Is that good enough?
I think so.
You're gonna go anywhere
Okay,
special
hold on,
or
let me
stay
make
put?
sure I get it over there. So,
You don't need to drag it over there,
Oh.
it's always there.
Currently no plans.
So that's
but
your
no
view.
change.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the.
Ryan, you're going to Orlando?
Because it's in full.
maybe that's what I was doing wrong. I was dragging it over there.
So-
Fort Myers.
Okay.
Otherwise,
But now it's always on top of.
if you wanna be able to drag still.
No, I don't care if I drag. I just want to be able to look at the agenda.
Shannon, what are you doing for spring
But,
break?
so I have to minimize this?
March 1st, we
Okay.
start
You good?
30
I think
days
so.
of baseball
Let's see.
every day. Yeah.
So when is your next vacation? You personally? Do you even have anything on the?
I don't have anything on the calendar. No. My vacation is spending time with you lovely people.
Oh.
It's like a dream come true.
Okay, well, on that note, we will officially kick off the Board of Directors meeting for WLA Wednesday, February 23rd. We've got 5:35, and I'm kind of taking some minutes here because Nancy is our normal minute taker, but she's down working on figuring out our dinner orders. So I am going to take roll on her behalf tonight. So Jolene.
Here.
Natalie.
Here.
Mandy, here. Shannon? Here. Ryan?
Here.
Shelby? Here. All right, Jason Livingston? Not here. Okay. And Jason was actually on the agenda to read the mission vision, and he obviously is not able to read it tonight. So would someone, do you want to read it in his honor? As you're going to take a drink of, bite of, catch you mid. But I feel like you don't normally do it since you're ex officio, so this would be great.
All right, the mission of WLA is to utilize leadership-based programs and strategies grounded in solid research, combined with the demonstrated success of core knowledge curriculum as a basis of a rigorous overall educational platform that builds strong skills in math, reading, literature, writing, music, science, and technology. The vision of WLA is to be a school where students and graduates become exceptional leaders and are prepared to take on the academic and leadership challenges they will face in high school and beyond.
All right, and so next we'll move on to 3.1, which is approval of our meeting agenda. We did have a small change. We forgot, you may have noticed that we forgot to update that we had our annual meeting last month, and so we had changed the very top where it says Board of Directors Annual Meeting. This meeting here in February is a regular meeting, so, but beyond that, are there any other changes that need to be made to the agenda, or would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
All right, there's been a motion to, is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda with the edit of the title. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Okay, so I better write this down. Ryan motioned and Shannon seconded. Okay, so now we will move on to 3.2, which is the approval of the January 26th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 26th Board of Directors meeting minutes.
All right, so Shannon Kelly motioned and Jolene Skordal seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes as well. Okay, number 4, conflict of interest declaration. Do any board members have any conflicts of interest to declare this evening? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. And are there any? There are not any public comments this evening. Okay, so we have our first presentation for this evening, which is the Service Learning Showcase from grade 2. So second grade team, you're on Zoom, and we're going to try to make sure this works okay, but if you start presenting or talking, it should, oh, you know what, you probably don't have ability to present. Oh, you guys. Okay.
You know how to get there? Because I can walk you through it.
Yeah, I know, but normally it's right at the bottom, and can you,
Can you see that on your screen?
no. Maybe come help me. Normally it's right here at the bottom, and there's a green button, and then I just hit multiple people can, so I'm wondering. Oh, yes, there you go. You have to control it over there. Okay, the next one, a green one. Okay, I think I can maybe do it. If you, it's right there. And then I go to there. Okay, I think we've got it. Give it a try, Anna.
Okay, so I will share my screen with you. Actually, before we do that, we should introduce ourselves.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kat Jackson. This is my 3rd year teaching at WLA.
Okay. Hold on just a second,
I-
ladies. Give me just 1 second. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
How do I make?
Ms. Jackson, I can't believe that you've been here for 3 years already,
That's crazy.
isn't it?
I don't know how
we even got this on there.
No, why it's so much different than last time, but,
I mean, I can just scooch them over.
yeah, what happened? Go the other way. Yeah, there, let's do that. Maybe, try it.
I don't know why it's so small. Do the people on YouTube see that?
Yeah. Okay, give it a try. Okay.
There they are.
Good?
Yeah, for now, yes. Go for it.
Beautiful. I am Anna Shoup. I've been teaching here this is my second year.
Hi, I'm Nicole Stevens. This is my first year here at WLA. I am Kaylin Thomas. This is also my first year here at WLA. Thompson, it won't let me turn my video on. It says the host has stopped it, if that matters.
Okay.
I am subbing for Miss Lemon while she's on her maternity leave.
Okay, beautiful. I will share my screen, and we will go over what we did for our project. Nicole, I realized I'm the only one who can click it, so you let me know when to go to the next slide.
Perfect, go ahead. All right, for our service learning project, first thing we needed to do for our students is really introduce what is humanity. So we started off by saying humanity, and then Anna, if you want to click it, a very simple definition of it. Humanity is being humane and kind to others, really emphasizing compassion and kindness, which we realized that second grade we're all really working hard on talking about that in our classrooms. Go ahead, Anna. Perfect. So then what we did is we found a story that really focuses on what kindness is, how you can show it, and what it means to be kind. I know that my kids, along with all the other kids, really enjoy listening to books, so this is a really captivating way to teach them what kindness and humanity is.
Oh, no, we don't need to watch that.
Perfect. After we introduced what is humanity, we gave kids a time to talk to their peers that are around them and walk around the room and just talk about how they can show humanity in the classroom. We had a bunch of different questions, how they can show it at school, at home, and just how you can make somebody's day by being kind and compassionate and just showing humanity, not just one day, but really showing it all of the time here at WLA and at home. Finally, we presented what we were going to do as our project. We as a second grade team, reached out to a nursing home that's here in Woodbury, and we asked if we could write letters to the different members of their homes. So that was what we were able to do. So we needed to tell kids, what is a senior living home? A lot of them raised their hands that they might have a grandma or grandpa or other relative that's already living there. But this still gave us an opportunity to really teach two kids what it is. So we talked about how a senior living home is where when you get a little bit older and you need help with more tasks that you might not be able to do by yourself, you might go to a home to get that extra care. We talked about how oftentimes if they have kids that they might not live with them anymore. So we want to make their day and show some kindness by presenting them with some letters that they can read. And I know that the woman that I was speaking to said that some of them might even write the kids back, which I know my kids were really jazzed about. So looking forward to that. But that's kind of how we presented all of the information to them.
And then next is how we actually did the project. So this is actually the slideshow that we showed the kids, and this is the piece of paper that we got for each of the students. We tried to tie it into our skills as well to go through the writing process, because that's what we focus on a lot in second grade. So that is the draft and the editing and the final copy. So in order to create that draft, we gave them some things that they might include in their letter, like asking, how are you? Tell them something about yourself. Ask them what they'd like to do, and ask them what their favorite whatever it is. They didn't have to do these, which you'll see in a couple examples we have, but it was a good starting point for those students feeling a bit stuck. And another thing, this is our final draft. We posted this up on the screen because students really don't get practice a lot writing an address. So that was another thing we helped them out with, is we posted the address up on the screen so they could copy that onto their piece of paper. And we have a couple of cute examples. My first one has sound. I don't know how that will go about. Do you think that'll work, Mandy?
Yeah, I think so. Give it a try. I know. One way to find
Okay.
out.
Beautiful. So, Kat, take it away. This is, you just.
Yes, this is a student in my class, and when I told her that she would, because we wanted to give a student example, and when I told her that this video would go to Dr. Mortensen and the board, she was really excited. So she's really happy for you guys to hear what she had to say.
So I'll try and hit play. If you can't hear it, maybe just shout out to me to stop.
Okay.
Dear friend, I'm Elsie. My favorite color is lime green. What's your favorite color? My favorite animal is a sloth. What's your favorite animal? I'm 7. I have 2 cats. One is named Clover and one is named Curly. Do you have a pet? I live in St. Paul. I have 1 brother. Do you have a brother or sister? I go to Woodbury Leadership Academy. What school did you go to? I hope this letter makes you feel better. Sincerely, Elsie.
Oh, I love it. I wonder if Miss Sorensen has any comments on that letter. It's wonderful.
He was very excited to do that.
Good.
So cute.
And then, oh, thank you, Elsie.
And then this was one of my students. We didn't have the rights to share his photo or video, but it's just so cute. I wanted to share it with you. So he says, "Dear friend, hi, my name is Arjun. I am a 2nd grader, and my grade at WLA are sending letters to people like you. Anyway, enough about me. So Howard, what do you like to do? What's your name? Hope you are feeling good. How old are you? What is your favorite food or drink? I am 8 years old, and I am really, like really good at jumping very high." I enjoyed this letter.
Oh, it's adorable.
They didn't send salad dressing. I forgot to order it, so.
And like Nicole touched on earlier, the nursing home may respond to some of these letters, but we're still waiting to hear back on their reaction. I know my class was also very excited at the possibility of a response, so I'm really hoping we get a couple responses for them.
And that is our presentation.
All right. Great job, 2nd grade team. Are there any questions or comments for
I
2nd
just
grade
need
team?
to know how they respond. Have to. That's amazing.
Good job, guys. I have a 2nd grader, and I know he really liked this project, so great job.
I would just say I love that, like, you tied in the core virtue very clearly and that you added academics into it too. It just felt really, I don't know, well done, wholesome. I don't know.
Yeah, nice job, 2nd grade.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, 2nd grade team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is a board report, and actually for that part of it, I was going to pass it over to Jolene to give us an update on the mascot.
Okay.
Go.
I'm gonna click on the Zoom link so I can share a file with everyone.
Ooh, that's fancy. I hadn't thought about using it that way.
Mr. Robbie told me all about it.
Yeah, no, that's smart. Yes,
Very good.
maybe. Where am I? Okay.
Yeah, so since our last board meeting, I was really excited to get the new OWL logo off and running. You might be muted too. Oh, I'm muted too. Yep. There we go.
There you go.
Oh,
I'm just.
You're good.
okay.
There.
There,
Oh,
okay. You gotta turn your speakers all the way down.
Can you mute yourself?
I did, but, okay, so it says my speaker's off, but it's clearly not. So, oh, you guys. I
Yeah,
really.
it happens to me like on a daily basis, and you'd think, we'd eventually figure it
By now.
out this thing.
Um,
There's so many platforms.
Yourself, obviously heard through Andy's computer. And
There you go,
I don't
sit by
know.
Mandy.
Yeah. Do you want to come over
She
here?
needs her.
But she's not even plugged in, so just come on over, Jolene.
Come on over.
We will figure this out. I know it is so different this time.
But
I'm
I
not
agree
really
with
sure.
Ryan, it's like 2 years into this, and we still don't know that we're muted.
Yeah.
Okay, so from our last meeting, talked about trying to get the logo up and running. We had voted.
You're still muted.
Oh, right, because I didn't unmute. Oh, you guys. What does that say? Is that the right one?
Pick it up now.
Is it?
Okay. But, okay.
All right, we'll try it. All right,
But now you,
Say something.
third time's the charm?
Her sound needs to be turned off.
what, are you going to show us something with sound?
Nope,
Okay, then.
just gonna talk.
Mute yourself.
They can hear you.
I am muted.
Okay. Oh, is that coming from yours?
It's picking
Oh,
up.
okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
Say something.
All right.
Okay. All right, so, was really excited to get the logo off and running. The school had voted on the owl as our official mascot. So I was really hoping to get that off and going so that we could get our design for the gym ready for when the gym floor is ready to be painted and getting all those things set. So I enlisted the help of a online company that was an online graphics crowd sharing company. So there would be lots of input from graphic artists from around the world to give us lots of design options. So, and we had a small group gathered together and we kind of proofed a lot of different designs and came down to a final graphic artist that we like. And as part of the work with this company, we can still have input with this graphic design artist to tweak it a little bit more. But I will show the artist, if I can find it, and his design choices that he came up with.
Jolene, you had a handful of people working on this committee.
Mm-hmm.
You, myself, Diane. Who else was on the committee?
Like Ashley Barthel.
Ben, Mateus Seibert, and Jess Erickson.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I can't get to my tab, so let me get closer. Here it is. So, here it is. This is the basis of the owl design that we had chose with this particular artist. And right now he's given us 5 options. And if I can get to the, well, it doesn't show it here. Wait, maybe it will. Make it a little bigger for you. So this is one of his 6 design options. We're still tweaking a few things with it. We thought it would be important to maintain the current font for the Woodbury Leadership Academy. We really liked this owl. It was very similar to the owl we had on our property. And we thought it was important to maintain the torch in our design as well.
And the font, like I noticed.
Yep,
it
the
says
torch and the
same
font.
Which is nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Are these ones like, are they all different slightly?
they're all just a slightly different. It says and I've only been talking with the artists online, so in just some of the notes I've been giving them, these are the options they've put forth. So we really also liked how the established inn is on the design as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we will be working with these designs to finalize it. So there's Luna at Woodbury Leadership Academy.
Very cool.
So
Where did this artist end up being from? You said it was a global?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't say. I haven't spoken to that, but I did have an artist from Australia. I know that for sure. So that was unique.
And you said you held up or took a picture of...
Took a picture of Luna. Yep. And so this was, I guess, the owl that he decided on. There was lots of options that people used Luna in, so this was the one we liked the best that wasn't too angry or too happy.
Looks very wise. Yes, very wise.
So, Yes, so we'll continue from this and tweak it a little bit more and hopefully have a more final owl for you for next board meeting. But this is a good start, we feel like.
Yeah, thank you
Mhm.
for taking control of it.
Is the plan to put the whole like logo like that in the gym or just like an owl? I guess what's your?
My vision is to have an owl logo in the center of the gym, whether it be just the owl or this entire T&N logo, and then divide up the Woodbury Leadership Academy or WLA on the end lines, or whatever. Still, we want to work with our designer for the gym floor as well to see what works. But this is a good start, I think.
Now that could be made into a patch to be put in uniforms.
Right, it could be. Yeah, we talked about that in our group as well. We didn't feel it was our place to make that decision, but we thought that it's most important to have this as our spirit wear logo, our physical education uniform logo, and then in the gym as well. But again, this is probably not our place to say, but we just thought that it's probably best to leave the main logo on our uniform as is. So, there we go.
Really nice.
Thank you. So,
Feedback from the board, things they would, we'll pull up one more time. I guess as she's working with the designer, are there things about tweaking it? Are there things the board would like to see different?
and this is 6 different options of the same logo that you've seen. Whether
Wait,
it's
say that again, like, what do you mean?
6 different options of the logo. So for instance, on this one, you can see it's a round crest behind it.
Like, do you have a different one to show just for example?
That would be this one.
Oh.
That has the
I didn't realize it was
diamond
changing. Did you
shape.
guys notice this?
It's changing like so slightly.
Yep.
Okay.
With the different
okay.
font.
My attention to detail is apparently a challenge here. Okay.
This one has a different font you can see as well.
Yep.
The academy is different.
Yeah, right, okay.
This one, I'm not sure.
Who decides, I guess, what goes on the main uniform? You said that's not like.
I think that would be a governance committee, in my opinion. This one has the 2 stars on the bottom. I don't know if you can. And then the established in is on the top, on the sides. And then this one, it's just a different color, I believe. But they're all very similar, just a little different, very hints of different.
I literally didn't catch that. Okay,
That's okay.
all right.
So if it is okay with the board, I'd like to make a motion to continue work, if I need to, with this graphic artist, as well as sharing the design with the PTO so they may use it for Spirit Wear.
One quick question, does he charge like whatever you pick, like there's one flat fee for it, or is it?
Yep, we've paid the fee up front already, and of course we can do more with it and pay more.
Right.
As of right now, I think we have what we need.
And then we have the copyright.
Copyrights,
And the
everything.
expense was not that much. I think it was like $500.
It wasn't even that. It was $331 or something.
If we wanted like, sometimes there's just the owl or just the mascot on things, like would the artist then be able to make those extra things
Yes.
later on?
Yep. We can have them just pull out the owl for design.
Looks great, Jillian.
Thank you. Yeah, I was very happy with the work that was submitted. They were all very different, and we had a
How
lot
many,
to
I mean,
look at.
these 6 obviously came from the same person, but how many did you get, like, the first time you crowdsourced?
So the first go around, and it's contest is how they bill it.
Right.
Any of the graphic artists can partake in the contest. I believe we had 8 different artists submit, and then we narrowed it down to 6 that we'd like to tweak. And then once those 6 designs came in, we've narrowed it down to this one designer who we awarded as the contest winner, so they get paid.
Oh, that's great.
And then we get to work with them.
It's a cool concept.
Yeah,
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, do we have to vote on, because you made a motion,
I made a
right?
motion, yes, to
don't know
continue
that
work
we-
with the designer,
Yeah, I don't
for
know
the
that we need
PTO to
a
use it.
motion for that, but do we need a motion, Nancy, maybe you or anybody, do we need a motion to approve the PTO to use this once the final thing has been in? Okay, so that might be your motion.
Are you gonna bring it back when you pick like the final one then, or you just?
Well, that was probably the question. Do we need that motion when we have the final design, or do we need it now? I don't know.
You could make a motion contingent upon the committee selecting final design.
Thank you, yep. So I'd like to make a motion for the PTO to continue, or to use our logo design contingent upon the final decision of the design committee.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to, say it again. Approve.
What she said.
Yes, right.
To allow the PTO to use the approved design contingent upon final.
Use the selected design,
The design selected by the design committee.
selected by the committee.
Okay.
To use the selected design from the design committee.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Yep. Gonna leave that meeting.
Okay, Kathy, Executive Director report.
Okay. All right, current enrollment is actually 636. Nancy corrected me today. Would like to bring it to the board's attention that we currently have 85 kiddos online. And as of today, we have 22 of those coming back on site for trimester 3. Does that sound about right, Nancy?
Yes, 22 coming back have requested to come back on site, and one has requested to go the opposite direction from one site to online.
Okay.
But families have until end of day Friday to communicate if they want to.
Yeah, thank you. So I kind of expected more of a mixed bag. I thought there would be some families that wanted to go online for trimester 3, considering that we're moving to optional masking. However, at this point, the numbers are what I just shared. Okay, expansion remodeling. I was very encouraged on February 16th. I was actually not invited to this meeting, but I was a fly on the wall. I happened to be in the same room that they were meeting in, and Sean met with some Woodbury city officials, and it was really nice to hear their interest in partnering with us. They mentioned that they're sure that we've been approached by other groups to share our facilities, indoor and outdoor, and that they would like to be involved with that. So that was pretty neat to hear, and we've set up a meeting to follow up on that. I think that's for next
So we
Tuesday.
would, that'd be a revenue opportunity for us, yeah?
Right. I like that. And they also have ideas about certain grants that we didn't know about that are through the city, county, state kind of thing. I think they'd be a very good partner. That would, of course, be brought back to the board, and we'd say, this is what we're looking at.
Do we have
And there's so many reasons
restrictions
for it.
on what we can use those types of revenue funds for?
I don't know that. So would those come in, would they feed the Fund 4?
I don't know. That might be a good Brenda question.
Yeah.
Or Bridget, but I don't know.
Sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And you know, it's...
City building opportunity.
Yeah, it's all that. It's PR, it's marketing, it's assistance. They're talking about assisting to set up and do some things out front in the fields, as well as maintaining some things. And then there's also the presence, you know, when the school is more used, there's less people kind of hanging around doing anything weird. You know,
Yeah,
when you have a
true.
very active site.
Yep.
So, pretty excited about that. Okay, also I reached out today to St. Croix Recreation for a plan and proposal for that front play area. And they look like they'll get something to us, so I'll pull you in on that, Jolene. And then we'll bring that back. I'm not sure how that will be funded or if that will even happen this coming year, but that will go through the Finance Committee, Facilities Committee, and we're working on it.
What area is that? Like the one that we did? Or way out across the field?
Yeah, across the field where the gravel parking lot is
Yeah,
right now.
okay.
So it will be for older elementary kids, so much more rugged and what you see basically at any elementary school.
Okay.
So then we'll keep these two for the youngers, which
Okay.
would be pre-K if we go there, as well as K1. Okay, draft calendar, if we can look at that. I know it came out in your packet. I was trying to say a few things about that. First of all, I really appreciate it's a small group of WLA staff members, paras, and teachers that had a good look at it. And I believe they talked to their colleagues and kind of did a little lobbying and got added input. So between that and South Washington coming out with theirs, I think they're a pretty good match. I did not send out the South Wash family calendar that is on their website if any of you want to take some more time and compare the two. I think the one, a couple things are, we would be, a couple of the significant differences are we would be starting a couple days early, right before Labor Day weekend. This would give our teachers the opportunity to provide the syllabus, get kids started with classroom expectations, do some fun things, hopefully outdoors in our outdoor classroom, start the bonding process with kiddos. And then our first day of school would be, official school would be the first day after Labor Day, Tuesday. We did also build in the schedule for K1 and 2 to start a little later. Is that correct? I think that worked really well, and we're hearing things from those early teachers that they really are appreciating the time that they can sit down and kind of get to know the little kiddo one-on-one, as well as kind of look at that assessment data. Some of this is still related to COVID in that some of the kiddos still haven't been in a brick and mortar, or we don't have records or transcripts from previous years that we can rely on. Or maybe it's going to be a trend that we will always have those 3 grade levels start a couple days later. So time will tell on that. Another big difference is that we're pretty sure we want a 2-week vacation during winter holiday. So that seemed to be a big hit with staff. I'm not sure if it was a big hit with families. I got a handful of emails saying that they appreciated it. I didn't get any emails, from people that didn't like it. But when you have 640 families and, you're basing your decision on 6 or 7 emails.
We saw one email saying they didn't like it.
Okay.
Today.
Yeah, that one today, yeah.
Just saying that because I think we had gone back and forth about should we follow South Wash's, this was actually maybe 2 years ago, should we follow South Wash's winter break, or should we do the 2 full weeks? Because they don't do the 2 full weeks. They have, theirs starts the 22nd.
So they take Thursday, Friday off.
They take Thursday, Friday, then they have a week. Yeah, so most parents seem to say that they liked having the 2 full weeks off, but then there was one saying that anytime if you have a family that has 2 working parents, anytime we have a break and South Wash doesn't have a break, it's hard for them to find childcare, because oftentimes like YMCA or places would offer it when the big district has off, but they don't often offer it if we had off. So that was,
Right.
we did have a parent say that. So I mean, I do think it's good feedback to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the board, we're not, we don't make decisions by surveying all of our parents on every decision. So we really need, especially you that are parents in the community here, to think about, do we go with the full 2-week, or do we match more closely South Wash?
Well, I think there's a 3-day difference then, right? So it's not, I want to make it sound like it's a huge difference, but
Right.
there's 3 days that
Monday,
we would
Tuesday,
be.
Wednesday.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we would be off, and 8:33 would have school, those 3 days.
Right.
Does our YMCA care ever offer like non-school day care? Like
They do.
here?
Well, they haven't been doing it here at all times, but it probably would be here once we open up our new spot. So yeah, that is an option.
Oh, that's be a really good option.
That's a good point.
We also had a conversation, we are doing the same, looking at the same thing in 2 weeks, and we had a conversation on taking a survey of parents that would need care early on, and also seeing if any of our EAs would be interested in gaining some extra hours, because 2 weeks off without pay for them is a really long time.
Yeah.
And having them come in and do a child care center for one of the 2 weeks, and that gives them a chance to earn some money when they're off. So that's one of the
Yeah, I
ideas
love
that
that.
we're looking at.
Yeah, I
Just
love
to offer
that.
those EAs a chance to make some of their money back.
Yeah, so if we were to pass this calendar with the 2 week, then we would definitely do Shelby's idea, and we'll probably do that early December and survey the parents. If you need assistance, we have people that would love to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great solution. Okay, the spring breaks are lined up. Some of the teacher workshop days are, some are not. And I forgot if we get out at the same time or not. Maybe our last day would be,
Their last day for elementary is the 2nd, and last day for secondary is the 6th.
so that's similar to us, because we would have, it looks like June 7th would be our last day, and then we have 2 teacher workshop days, one grading day and one data day. So similar ending. Any additional ideas or input, thoughts, changes requested?
I would say I really appreciate the evening conference, the switch like the conferences
Yep.
with my teacher hat. Change I noticed.
Have you heard any other staff members talking about, I don't know that a lot of them have seen it.
I don't think many have seen it, but I know that it can be really challenging for teachers to have late conferences and then come back and teach the next day and then do conferences again. It's really exhausting. So like with the new calendar, just having it just would allow us to, I feel like, give better conferences that second day.
That would be the point, yeah. Yeah, we kind of need you to be fresh.
And the only other feedback I heard, and this was from one person, and I can't even remember, I'm sorry, the name of the holiday, but there's an Indian holiday that's kind of like a Christmas, that's a very big holiday that a lot of families celebrate in our community. Okay. And so there, at one point, someone had mentioned that they wondered if we would ever, because we have such a large population of that in our community, wondering if we would ever consider having that as a holiday. But I honestly don't even know. I don't know when Diwali is, but.
Okay. When is it?
I think it's like a changing, like it's not always
Oh, okay,
on.
okay. Yeah. So that was just something I had heard.
Okay. Well, a little later in the agenda, you'll have an opportunity, I think, to approve the calendar, and we can always tweak it or make some changes when we find out about that particular holiday and so forth. So,
Okay.
would like to get that out, because I know a lot of families do early planning, for instance, for spring break already a year from now. Okay, second grade presentation we just had. We're going to get to Miss Kylie Griffith in a minute. She's going to go through our winter maps for testing so that the board is updated with progress being made. But I would like to first talk about the things that have been very busy in the area of human resources. We have had some issues with some of our staff members, and those things have been resolved. Some of that is just cabin fever, I think, I tell Mandy, but I'm not kidding about it. It's just, things get tense in February, you know. Although there's fun things too, you know. There's Valentine's Day, and there's 100-year Day, and there's other things that lighten it up. Okay, and then you'll be, and I think I outlined there some of the HR things. Also working with the SPED department to organize and plan space and so forth and staffing needs for next year. I've got a little bit more of that under safe, effective learning environment. We'll be talking about optional masking in a minute. The PTO is just wonderful. Of course, they held another fundraiser that was last Thursday already? Kindergarten Roundup was held virtually on February 17th. I thought that was really well done.
Couldn't be there.
Yeah, it was still really nice. I enjoyed it. We do have quite a few families. It looks like 95 have applied for kindergarten already, and that's very early on, with 70 of those accepting those offers already. So we know that we have 70 seats filled for kindergarten, and then there's 15 yet that we are waiting to hear a response from. So those are good, strong numbers. And that was just the first. What was it? I think 38 families or so were at that one.
Roundup?
I know you weren't there, but Roundup, that's what I kind of counted at a glance. Okay, I put together some communication points there. Just Ryan had brought up that maybe we wanted to review that, so I kind of wanted to give you guys kind of a head start as we look at that later in the agenda. But before we go there, it's really nice to see field trips opening up again. So March 2nd is grades 5 and 6 will be going to Trollhaugen. April 8th, we've got the History Museum for grade 4. May 19th, we've got 2nd grade going to the Dodge Nature Center. We've got Wolf Ridge going March 30th. And then, of course, our DC trip is June 9th through 12th. There's still 25 kiddos signed up. Andy, Callie, and Autumn will be the staff that'll be going, and I think there's 3 to 4 additional parents that are going as chaperones. So it's just really nice to have some of these more normal things, because for a while, we couldn't go on any field trips. Every place was closed down. Okay, so I don't want to walk through the communication. I think I just listed some things that will hopefully help us as we discuss it a little later in the agenda. And I think with no further ado, we'll turn it over to Kylie.
Okay. Hi, Kylie.
Hi, welcome everyone. Hello.
Hi, Kylie.
All right, so I'm here to present data, so I will do that. And I'm really hoping my puppy does not bark. And if he does, I will mute myself and take him outside. Okay, so we took MAP this winter, which is actually the first time that WLA has taken MAP in the winter. We typically take this test in the fall and then again in the spring. But this year we decided to take it in the winter, and the next slide I show you will share why we made that decision. But first I want to talk a little bit about what MAP is. MAP stands for Measures of Academic Progress. We take the growth assessment of MAP. MAP is owned by Northwest Evaluation Association, which is a nonprofit educational organization. But through NWEA, or Northwest Evaluation Association, we take MAP growth. And the purpose of this test is to measure growth, inform instruction, and assess strategy. So this winter we had grades 3 through 8 take the winter MAP. They took the tests in reading, math, and language usage. Both on-site and online students were able to take this test. If you were an online student, you were able to take this test at home. And then another thing that's really important to know about MAP growth assessment is that it's an adaptive test, which means that when a student answers a question correctly, the answers increase in difficulty to find that exact perfect spot of where that kid is right then. And if they answer the question incorrectly, the next question will be easier. So a 3rd grader could get an 8th grade question. It depends on where they are, which is very different from the MCA, which is a fixed assessment, meaning that if you're a 3rd grader, you are getting only 3rd grade questions. So MAP is really nice because it does show us more of a full picture of what the child knows and what they need help on. We took the MAP winter test from January 31st to February 7th, with February 6th and 7th as retake days. Some students didn't finish the test in time, so then they were able to finish it with me, or some kids were absent the day that they were assigned to take the test and were able to take it with me as well. So it's kind of just the overview, the logistics of our MAP. And let me see. Okay, so I wanted to explain why we decided to take it this winter. And as you can see on the left-hand side here, there we go, it's a little bit bigger. I want to really point out where you see the yellow star. The yellow star actually gives us a projection on if kids will meet, exceed, partially meet, or will not meet the MCAs. We can see data for the ACTs or SATs, but that's a long ways away for these kiddos. But the reason why we wanted to take this test in the winter is because we can use that projection for the MCA to drive our instruction moving forward. And I want to just dive a little bit deeper into what this report shows, which every parent will get this report at conferences. We had training on this, so they should be able to explain these charts very well to you.
Kylie,
but if we look at, yes.
Kylie, sorry if I can interrupt the,
Yeah.
What we used to do is we would do them in the fall and then we would do them in the spring, but then, you don't have an opportunity because it's late spring, it's late May, the school year is pretty much done, so there's very little time that teachers can adjust anything, whereas doing it in the winter, even though you have a smaller window to see improvement, at least the teachers can use that data to change the instruction as they're moving forward. And then to point out to the board that first and second grade are not taking the winter map, and they do wait till the spring. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
We don't need their data for the MCAs because they don't take the MCAs. So just want to bring that to the board's attention.
Yeah, and MAP is getting closer and closer to working with Minnesota state standards. So a lot of this is not something that was always available to us, like the projections for the MCA. So as soon as that became available and we were aware of it, is when we recommended that we take it in the winter. If you look at the norms percentile, I think this is really interesting. And our iReady training is very similar in terms of presenting norms percentile as well as the quadrant chart. So it's really nice that our iReady curriculum aligns really well with the type of data that we get from NWEA/MAP. So this is a student from 5th grade, and if you look at the growth, that means that the student made more progress than 64% of their peers. If we look at the achievement, they scored 87% more or above than of their peers. Look at the quadrant, this student is making high growth and has high achievement. Growth is really important, as well as achievement. As we know, MCA is more focused on achievement at the report card level, but growth is also something really important to consider. Where you see the purple heart is the Lexile level. Every book, and you can go to your child's room and pick a book, they'll have a Lexile level on it. MDE recommends all schools to use Lexile, so we're really pushing our teachers to use Lexile versus what we had traditionally used, which was reading A to Z, so a student is an A or a B, but that really locks us into only using reading A to Z programmings. So the Lexile level allows us to grab any book from any part of Minnesota or in the country and find that Lexile level. The L, where you see the digits, so this one is 1,110 L, the L stands for Lexile. So based on the student's Lexile score, they are reading at a grade 7 level, and this is a grade 5 student. So really cool data that we get from this to drive our instruction moving forward. So as we dive a little bit deeper into a summary of how we performed grades 3 through 8 this winter, you can see that grades 3 through 6 and 8 were above the national norm in all 3 subject areas. Grade 7 was below in all 3 areas, but by very little points. So you can see in MAP we were below national norm by 2.9 points. These points are called RIT, R-I-T, which stands for rational unit. But to keep it more friendly for all of us to understand, I'm just going to say points. So really happy with our performance, grades 3 through 8, being above the national norm. They did update the national norms to 2020, so if you do look online, just make sure that you're using the national norms 2020 scale. Below the blue chart is something that we did at WLA, where we dove even deeper into our data. And I just want to take a little snapshot of this and not go through every grade, but for 4th grade, you will see that the subject levels are math and reading. Because language usage is not on the MCA, we're more focused on that math piece and that reading piece. Based off of their data, 63% of our fourth grade students currently, right now, if they were to take the MCA right now, would pass, which is 49 students. Compared to last year, we only had 41% of our fourth graders pass the MCA in math. And we're right now with 63, we are exceeding that. We also want to make sure that we're focused on the partially met students. Those are the students that are so close to meeting or exceeding. So those 15 students that are at the partially met are where we're really going to focus to get them up to be meeting or exceeding. MCA only counts, if partially met counts as not knowing the standards. So although partially met sounds nice, you're so close, but on paper, those kids are not counted as knowing the standards. In reading, we will see that 59% of our students are projected to meet the MCA this spring, whereas last year, those students, only 48% of them passed the MCA in reading. Again, that partially met is really where our bubble kids are, where we really need to put a lot of focus, which are 20 students. So there's a lot to do, a lot of data to use to drive instruction. We know exactly who these kids are. We know exactly where they need to, where they are right now in terms of their math and reading skills, and how we're going to push them and provide them a good educational experience to be able to meet the MCA standards for the spring. Okay, any questions?
What is the metric that, is it 75% that is our metric that our authorizer holds us to?
You know, and that'd be an interesting question for Stephanie. I don't know, I mean, obviously neither of us were around when the charter was developed, so I'm not sure if they came up with that metric and gave it to us, or if our school came up with that metric and gave it to them. So I think that would be an interesting question.
I'll have to check too, Ryan, I'll check with them. And then every time that you're renewing your authorizer agreement, then they ask if you want to adjust that. And
okay, so it must be, well, that leads me to believe that maybe we came up with it, but I think that'd be a great thing to revisit.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think, you know, a better benchmark would be 2019, candidly. I think we're patting ourselves on the back a little bit if we're comparing to 2020 and feeling good about the increase. It'd be interesting to see what 2018, 2019 looked like.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's a good point, because when we had initially had our, first year being at WLA or second year, we were going off of no data. So this is nice that we have a little bit more data in our history to be able to move forward with a goal that's attainable, and that meets all the criteria within a SMART goal.
Right. Kylie, just from a parent perspective, do you know when, do we get this, do parents get this information at conferences?
You'll get your individual, yeah.
Okay. Because I just feel like if if I have one of the students that needs, well, either way, I just would like to know where they are so that I can, support better at home as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And teachers are going to share with the screen that I'm showing right now, the left-hand side. You should get this comparison. And additionally, we went through training and picked out resources that parents can use. So a picture of a workbook that we think would be a great suit for your child. We really made sure that we tried to make this more of a family-friendly bridging school and home, because we know that sometimes we're in a teacher language, and we just need to make sure that it's more friendly for families to understand, as well as the information we're giving you as families, you can use it. So that was our big goal this year for sharing math winter data with families at conferences.
Okay.
Hey, Kylie, maybe the other question, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but do you know how we kind of compare to Minnesota, I guess? So if we're looking at the national norm, how's the rest of the state, or even the Washington County, South Washington County look? Might be interesting to look at.
Yeah, we're actually one of the very few schools that take MAP in the state of Minnesota. I can't remember what the number was. I remember sharing it with Kathy. Do you remember it was 13 schools in Minnesota?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was small.
It was small, and unfortunately this MAP data is district level, so I cannot see. I could reach out to the schools and see if they would share the information with me, but I don't know if they could show me very much because it has a lot of student data information on it, so they'd have to really redact it for me. But that's something I can absolutely look into and see if we can make a comparison.
So that's probably where MCAs comes in though, because those scores are, published and, yeah.
This is great. I mean, it's encouraging to be able to use the data like this and see where we need to pinpoint, kind of mid-year and take a gut check. This is great.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. So the growth part that I'm talking about with this testing, it's very neat to see, okay, if a student's having low growth, trying to figure out why that's happening. And making that quadrant chart, you can really identify, okay, who are your low growth, high achieving, or low achieving, low growth. It just provides a lot of information for parents, and I really am hoping that teachers can really talk through with families about what RIT is. And most students have a goal of, raising 7 points or 7 RIT scores from fall to winter. The data that I looked through, most of our students had met their projected growth, especially in grade 4 math, because I'm working with that grade the most right now. It is really, really great data that we get as teachers, and it's really nice too that iReady aligns and provides a lot of information too, because oftentimes school districts get this data, but it doesn't align to their curriculum, so it's really hard to use the data within the curriculum. So this kind of really helps us bridge that gap between iReady and MAP, and then with MCA.
I know this won't be quantifiable necessarily, but it'll be interesting to see if, testing fatigue is a thing, because normally, the kids in the spring I think they're fairly close together, right? They used to take this test and then kind of turn right around and take MCAs, right? So it'll be interesting to see if maybe it's helpful to have a break and then to take MCAs kind of fresh in the spring, so.
Yeah, that was another one of the reasons why we went to the winter, to give the data to teachers to actually be able to use yet in the spring, and also for that reason.
Yeah.
Fatigue, just can't have all that testing piled up at the same time.
Kathy and I were talking earlier today just about, trying to remove variables from what we think is causing our data to not represent what we see in the building. So test fatigue is one of those variables now that we can remove and see if it really was an issue.
Yeah.
Hey Kylie, I don't know if you already said this, but did these same students take the iReady diagnostic for the mid-year?
Yes, they did. So they took, luckily, the younger grades like kindergarten and first and second took it really close to when MAP was happening, but majority of the grade levels were able to take their mid-year assessment and iReady prior to this. And teachers were given about a month warning, so they were able to look at their calendars and make sure that they were planning appropriately.
Okay. Did the data from that assessment, I guess, line up to what students were scoring on these then?
I have not looked at that data yet. The teachers inserted that on Data Dig Day, so I'd be more than happy to do that comparison to see. We do know that last year when we compared the preliminary MCA results to end of year diagnostic, they were really similar. So if a student did well in the iDiagnostic end of year assessment, they passed the MCA. So that was a really nice indicator for us to know that they're assessing accurately and they're aligning. They're both criterion referenced assessments. So a lot of similarities there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I think we are.
Kathy's like, stop talking, Kylie.
No, well, I'm thinking about that example. I do want to share with the board because I think it's fascinating, discouraging, encouraging, and fascinating. But we had a student, one of the students that Kylie was working with, that he went through, I don't know if it was long division, Kylie, but the answer I think was 172. The student had shown his work here, came up with the correct answer, but then up here on the ABCD, where you had to identify which one was 172 or 174, whatever it was, the kiddo circled in the wrong one. So it's been a year of learning all sorts of interesting things, the test fatigue, and helping teachers better prepare, but even the things as the form of assessment that our teachers are using with the kiddos. You can have a kiddo have the right answer and then still fill in the wrong spot on the test because they're not used to, what do you call those tests? Optional, what are they?
Multiple choice.
Multiple choice, thank you. So I was just thinking of that, Kylie. That's not stop talking, but it's been interesting.
Yeah, there's
Discouraging,
a
but
lot of
encouraging.
things,
We can
and
do something
we're
about
also looking at our iReady assessments, and because MCA can be really tricky, they will say something really simple, 2 + 2, and they'll have a multiple choice. One will be 0, one will be 4, one will be 8, one will be 2. So they're trying to use every operation to see if they can trick a child. They will put, 50 feet or 50 square feet. And so kids have to be really careful when they're clicking the answer. And on the MCA, once you click next, that's it. So just really kind of teaching kids to be prepared for those types of tricks. That's what I call them when I'm working with them, is they try to trick you, so don't let them trick you.
I say that too.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you, Kylie.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks.
Okay, it is now time for financial director report. So Bridget, it looks like you're ready.
Yes, I am. Brenda might jump in later. She had another meeting, so she wasn't sure. So
sure.
It'll be me tonight. So let's see here. Share my screen with each of you.
And while she's doing that, I don't know if, have you seen Bridget before?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. I knew finance committee we had, but Bridget was working with us on our engagement for a while, and then she had a baby, so she was on maternity leave for a while, so now she's back, so I couldn't remember if, I knew the finance committee knows Bridget, but I wasn't sure about the rest of the board.
Yes. So can you see the financial statements on your screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So we are reviewing January tonight. So we'll go through, this is the table of contents, and we'll start off with the executive summary. So just a high level here, going over our ADM. So
Does anyone know?
right now,
Like
the revised budget, which is also the working budget, is showing 635 ADM.
Yeah, maybe.
That, is really, your ADMs drive your state aid revenue. So that is a big piece of the revenue that comes in. So that's why we're always keeping updated on that. Currently, the school's budgeted surplus is just over 5,000. And we have a budget, which we did spend the 36,000 in the community service fund for that playground equipment. And then your very healthy fund balance, 1.9 million is what we're projecting. We're 28% of expenses at fiscal year end. Currently, the projected days cash on hand is 110, and that meets the building company's minimum bond covenants, which they have, their requirement is 45 days, so you're well above that. As of the end of January, we were 58% of the way through the year. Cash balance was about $2 million. We are showing a negative state aid receivable, which seems a little odd on the balance sheet, but it's actually a good thing. MDE mostly is just overpaying, or paying based on last year's amount. So we'll continue monitoring that, but don't be alarmed on that. They're just finalizing things, and that'll make its way as we get the rest of the state aid payments from prior year. The current year holdback is 158,000, and just a reminder that the state does hold back that 10%, and that will get paid back next fiscal year, next in the fall. And the revenues as of the end of January are at 58%, which is right on track budget-wise, since we are 58% of the way through the year, and expenses at the end of the month we're at 54%. And we are
working through another another working budget. You won't see it on this one, but we will have something next month to present. So now moving on to what we call the dashboard. So this is just another way to look at the information. This is showing approved budget, working budget, year to date. So again, year to date revenues 58%, expenses 54%. This graph shows the budgets, how the revenues that are coming in, and there we can see that the large majority of the revenues are state revenues. And then this is showing how the money is spent. Fund balance history just over the last few years, and then what we're projecting. So if there's ever, if there's each year at the end of the fiscal year, if there's a surplus, then that goes into your fund balance, and if there's a deficit, it just takes away from your fund balance. And then current year financial trend is just another way to look at your revenues and expenses so far through the year, and then that year to date just shows where we're at through the fiscal year. And then this is enrollment, so comparing our ADMs to what we budgeted. And then the enrollment history just from the past few years, and then the cash balance. So now we're moving on to the balance sheet. And so there's that cash number that we had talked about, current year state holdback that will get paid back next year. Federal aids receivable, so typically you'll always see a little bit of that throughout the year because we have federal grants that we spend down, but we have to submit for reimbursement. So there will be a receivable when we have expenses that we have not yet requested reimbursement for. Your liabilities, this is, you'll see that because fiscal year end ends 6/30, but teachers will get paid through the summer, so there's always going to be a liability on the books for that salary and wages payable. Moving on to the income statement, so this is showing you the general fund revenues, and I like to point out that state aid revenues is right at so far 58% of budget, which is right on target because we're 58, like I mentioned, 58% of the way through the year. There's those federal revenues that I had talked about that we get reimbursed for that. These, you see that it looks like it's over budget. That will get adjusted next month. It's just the allocations hadn't been updated for the working budget. And then local revenues, and some of these budgets will also, we've gotten a higher amount of some contributions, some donations here than we budgeted. So we'll update that so these percent of budget look a little bit cleaner. On to expenses. I'm going to take a deep dive into the salaries and then over the next week here and do a new salary rec just to make sure we're tracking on the right path there and make sure we're budgeting accurately for the rest of the fiscal year. And some of these other, lines that you see over budget, we're looking into those and just adjusting as needed if things are coded incorrectly or if we just need to move things between budgets, like for instance, utilities, make sure that, we're budgeting accurately. I think we can move a little bit of that budget down to, somewhere that we might need it, maybe office supplies, etc. So just adjusting that so that this will look a little bit cleaner next month.
Hey Bridget, do you know on the one that jumps out is the building lease?
Yeah, we did look into that, and it's, we are on target, we're fine. It's just the way that the US Bank had set it up to get paid this year was not a consistent amount each month, so we actually paid more earlier in the fiscal year. So this will end up being at 100%. It's just that we paid more than 58% because we just pay more in the beginning of the year.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Right, moving down, so this is that community service fund, which is, like I had talked about that playground equipment, which has already been spent. And then this is just a nice summary here of total revenues and expenses, and right now, year-to-date, we're at, just about 250,000 revenues over expenses as we sit. So that's looking good.
Bridget, we talked earlier, I don't know if you were in the meeting already, about when we decide to buy the playground equipment for the field space across does that come out of Fund 4 or general revenue, or where will that come out of? I don't think it will come out of the bonding. It might.
Is that what the 36, is that additional playground equipment?
Yeah, that 36 was our second rainbow set, so the new expense that might be coming next year or the year after, I'm thinking it's going to be significant.
I know that there was a healthy fund balance with Fund 4. I want to say wasn't it around 90,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was originally 120, and then we bought the rainbow set behind the school, and then we bought the rainbow set on the side of the school. So that is what has caused that, or helped that to come down. And I guess.
But the question is that where, if we buy another play set, is that where it comes out of?
I think if you bought it out of here this year, you would be able to buy it out again if that's what you choose to spend that fund balance down.
Yeah, I think it would be our choice. My perspective is that Fund 4 is kind of hard to spend. It has to be specific things that you spend it on. So I do think it might be worth the time of figuring out where that money will go if we do go rent our facility to the city. Because if that goes into Fund 4, that will again make that rise, and it might be worth waiting until that rises to then spend it on that. Because if we don't spend it on that, like for example, if we just bought that equipment out of our general fund, then all of a sudden we have this rising amount in our Fund 4, it'd be kind of hard to find something to spend it on.
Gotcha.
So I think that might be worth looking into.
There also might be some grants that will apply for that too, or we could again partner with the city to see.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think it would be up to us.
All right, sorry to slow you down there, Bridget.
No, that's good. Good questions, good comments. Okay, we'll move on to, this is what we call the cash flow projection summary. So this is just a nice big picture of how the month went. So essentially this is showing the revenues that came in. So your state aid payments, a little bit of other receipts, and the prior year state holdback amount. So total revenues coming in for January, 530,000. And then this is your outflow. So payroll expenses, salaries, and then this is just your other expenses here, invoices, whatnot, benefits. So, and then this just then ties to the cash balance on the balance sheet. And then this is a breakdown of the contracted services amount. So that's your Object 305. So it just gives you a little bit, there's a lot that gets lumped into this line, and so this just breaks it down a little bit more so you can see where these expenses are going. Are there any other questions on the financial statements? I have one more report. Not. So the next report is just our supplemental report, and this basically it's kind of ties back to that cash flow, and it shows you payments that went out. So this you'll see these are all the payments that went out in January. So shows your vendors here and the amounts. And the next, this one, it just gives you a little bit more detail on these vendors, on these line items. So shows just a little bit more of a description. So that ties back to that cash flow of about 200, I think it was around 281,000. And then here it can shows your receipts. So these are the revenues coming in. And like I said, a large piece of it is the state aid revenue for the current fiscal year. And then this is a little bit from the prior fiscal year, that state holdback that we're getting paid for from prior fiscal year in this year. So that 10%. And then the last one is if there were any journal entries, and there weren't any journal entries done. And that we would do journal entries just in case if something was coded to the wrong account code or something, but those would always net to 0. So that concludes the January financial reports. If anybody has any other questions.
Any questions for Bridget? Okay, thank you, Bridget.
Okay. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay. Jolene. Yeah, do you want to move it over by you? Sure.
The Finance Committee had their regularly scheduled meeting on Wednesday, February 9th at 4:30, and it was a virtual meeting. For the meeting, Bridget presented all of the financial statements as she did here, and they again are looking very healthy, on track and within those normal limits. And the only other item on our agenda was to move our next meeting to March 9th to accommodate the spring break for WLA, so that we would not meet on the 16th. And so that was approved by the committee. So our next regularly scheduled meeting for the Finance Committee will be Wednesday, March 9th.
I think it'll be the 16th.
Did I say it wrong? Say it wrong, sorry. The 16th at 4:30. We adjourned at 5:02. Are there any questions?
I missed that meeting. Is that why it was so quick?
Yep. It was very quick. Okay, if there aren't any questions, then I'd like to make a motion to accept the February Finance Committee meeting minutes and the January financials.
I'll
We should
second.
just make that one edit though, right? We're moving it to the 16th?
Moving it to the
I think
16th.
it says it the other way around.
Yeah.
I did say it, yeah.
Oh,
It says it in that.
It does! Okay, yes.
Yeah.
It'll be on the 16th.
Okay.
Subject to that, I will make a motion to approve.
You will second that, thank you.
All right, so there's been a motion and a second to accept the February Finance Committee minutes with the edit of the date of the next meeting to March 16th and also the January financials. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes. Okay, and then Governance Committee, Natalie.
Yep, so for our February meeting, we had some illness and weather-related issues with the schedule that we had, or the meeting that we had, so we ended up just canceling that meeting, and then we're gonna end up meeting a week early for spring break for our March meeting. So we'll meet on the 3rd of March at 4:30 and work through our big agenda that day.
Okay, so say that one more time. You're going to be on
The 3rd, March 3rd.
Okay. And you'll update that on the website?
Yes.
Can you update the other
So-
ones as well?
So when it has like the running like every second Wednesday or whatever
Yeah.
for the committees, do you want me to just make like a note for these specific months that it'll be different? Okay.
Yes. So then you'll kind of have edited twice, because you'll go and edit for March, and then you'll change it back for April. Okay, perfect. All right, so nothing's really approved there, so move on to facilities. Let me get that up here. Okay, and I can do that one. So facilities committee meeting took place on Tuesday, February 8th. It was a virtual meeting at 4:30. Most of our members were present with the exception of one who was traveling. And okay, just facilities update. The gym is still on budget. We did have a talk about, we're hoping to get the certificate of occupancy. It's still looking like it will be early June. They were wanting to potentially get special clearance to start tours of the building in May so that we could take not only our current families through it, maybe, but then also prospective families. So they anticipated maybe being able to do that like mid-May. You probably know more about this than I do. But
They haven't come to a conclusion on that yet.
no, I think they need to see how far along they are. The city has to get clearance to do that, so I anticipate that the city will come look at the safety of the structure to make sure that they agree with that. So, but I think for your perspective, marketing efforts, you were thinking just while families are on site, knowing that we'll be having a lot of tours, I assume, our current families as well.
We're hoping that the city will give us permission to do some limited tours so that folks can kind of come in the front door, meet, look at the gym, kind of walk through that main floor and out a different door, something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of going up to the second, third floor in the classroom. So it's really going to be up to the city. Some of the things that are a little behind are Ben is at the hardware and some of the fire door metal.
Yeah, it's mainly door production.
But it had something to do with hardware, so it's just backed up, and so we're hoping they'll give us some limited occupancy. So we can do tours.
Okay. So eventually we'll start probably talking about, I'd love hearing, board thoughts on this too, but how to launch that new building. Do we do a big open house? Do we, I don't know, a ribbon cutting, or do we, I don't know.
It's going to be exciting. We're going to have to look at that probably within a couple months.
Yeah, get a date out there and figure out what it's going to look like. I don't know that we can have our entire school come at once. I feel like that might be a little crazy, but yeah.
There's area business owners, there's community members, folks living in townhouses across the pond here. There might be kind of several different initiatives. New families, veteran families.
Right.
I'm not sure. Yeah. But parking is limited, so it's going to be more than one night.
Right.
Are we thinking that, so we've done like the year-end, carnival or whatever we've called it, but I don't know if we're thinking of doing that again, but that could be an opportunity to do some tours then too. I don't know.
That would be great.
I have heard PTO talking about the year carnival doing it. I don't know exactly what their plans are, but that would be a really good idea.
They were talking about doing it in the field across the street, but to have separate tours. Here's your time. Every 15 minutes, take another group through there.
Oh, I love that idea. That'd be fun. Okay. So maybe something to talk to PTO about.
Yep.
Now, maybe pass that mic back.
Yes.
Okay. So, I don't know. Let's see. Building envelope. So they kind of tried to get it enclosed so they could start working inside. And so I think they've done a pretty good job of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's fully enclosed, last I heard.
Floors are done, right, Ben?
Yep, full and board.
And they're working in there in t-shirts, so they must have heat.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, yes. And then had been a lot of talk the last month about performance area, sound and lighting decisions. And so we had a budget for that, had a company come out and give us their bid and all the things that they thought that we needed, and it came in about maybe 3 or 4 times over budget. So then it was scaling that back to, what do we really need right now, and looking at some of the local other schools and asking, what they have and what works for them, and so that was really helpful. And then there's a couple of meetings coming up on signage decisions, both inside and outside. So figuring out just how to label the classrooms, if we stay consistent with what we've done in this building, over in the new building, and then, external signs as well. So you'll notice some of the globe signs are still in the parking lot, maybe removing some of those, putting like an activities entrance sign.
Everything's a 2-hour meeting,
Yeah.
trying to decide those little triangular signs that come out above each doorway. There's 2 hours.
Yeah.
And on it goes, but
Yep.
we're getting there.
Yep. So, let's see, the next facilities committee meeting has also been moved 1 week later than normal due to spring break, so it will be Tuesday, March 15th at 4:30. Any questions for facilities? Okay. So I will make a motion to accept the February facilities minutes.
I'll second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to accept the February facilities minutes. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion passes. All right, 7.1, we could have a vote on the school calendar. What's your
That'd be great.
recommendation?
My recommendation is to go with the one that I sent out in the board packet, and we will follow up with that particular holiday, and we will keep our ears open for suggestions or input from parents as it comes along.
Yeah. Can I make a suggestion that I wonder if it wouldn't help to get like a PTO member on your calendar committee next time? Because I think your people were all internal, which is great.
Yep.
Because you had teachers of all different ages, but I think a parent perspective might be helpful.
Yeah,
And some of those I think are parents too, but just involving the PTO, I think would be helpful to get some
Sorry, I
input.
missed out on it.
No, it's okay.
I should have caught that earlier.
No, it's okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve the 2022-23 school calendar.
I'll second that.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to approve the 2022-23 school calendar. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion passes. Okay. 7.2, we had a teacher reach out to us to express her interest in joining the board. We have an open teacher board of directors seat because no one ran for the last election. I did, I think, kind of pass out to you guys. This is more just information only kind of thing, but I did kind of throw out here before the meeting just this filling board vacancies rubric. It's been a while since we used this. We haven't had any vacancies, so I need to update the address there at the bottom. But I just want to just educate, I guess, the board on the process that we went through. So Jolene and Natalie and I met with Julie O's one morning a couple weeks ago and talked through her interest in joining the board, her background, and then we went through some of these interview questions and then took some notes. And Julie and Natalie, or one or the other, I'd love for you to share your thoughts and then maybe share what our recommendation was from the interview.
I feel like we kind of echoed each other in the interview. Just Julie's experience with other board positions and just her resources and connections in the community. And I would say also her vision for WLA in the long term. It feels like a really good fit for what we need going into strategic planning and just like having that perspective as far as an active community member. Seems like it would be really valuable to our board.
Like you said, we echoed each other's sentiments. I feel like she'd be a really great addition to our board, just with all of her knowledge and wealth of background, and just would really be a positive influence on our board.
What kind of questions do you ask at the, and thank you, Julie, for being here. I certainly don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. What are the kind of questions that I remember a while back, Roe would interview candidates. Oh, you have them all?
Yeah, I'm sure you too.
They're right here in my packet. Okay.
Well, it's funny that you said Ro, because I literally reached out to Ro. I'm like, hey, Ro, long time no talk. Do you have that document that you used to use? And she was like, of course I do.
Oh, awesome.
So
thank you.
I think she actually said anything for WLA. So it was very sweet.
Yeah.
I guess we all decided that we would definitely recommend Julie for the open teaching position.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to add Julie O's for the open teacher position on the WLA Board of Directors.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, there has been a motion and a second to appoint Julie O's to the open teacher position on the Board of Directors. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to say, I'm going to abstain from this vote. Julie works closely with one of my children, so I don't want there to be any real or perceived conflict of interest, so I will be abstaining.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
And that vote will pass. So Julie, we will, first of all, congratulate you. Wonderful. Yeah, if you'd like to come join us, we will. Look at this, she's already got a.
Do we have a swearing in?
No,
Do you
not
want the
really.
gavel?
No.
Got the gavel? We got the gavel?
A heads up, and this affects more than anything else. They delivered our food 45 minutes ago, actually 15 minutes ago now. I went to every door, can't find it anywhere, had to call again, get a refund, reordered, but when I reordered, they said it wouldn't be there until about 8:30, so I didn't reorder. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Nancy, I'm sorry.
You just don't have good luck with ordering food here.
Shouldn't be that hard to find, but yeah.
Can we have Julie tell a little bit of background so that
Yes.
Shelby and Shannon kind of know a little bit about
Well,
the
introduce
city
yourself
council?
a little bit, especially to Shelby and Shannon, and maybe Shelby and Shannon can do the same to Julie.
Okay. Well, my name is Julie O's. This is my third year here. I walked in one day in November as a substitute from Teachers on Call, and there were a few needs here, so I never left. I filled in for a science teacher, Spanish teacher, special ed, and then went legit last year as a special ed teacher for middle school. I can almost see my house over there, the single family over there. I was on the Woodbury City Council for 12 years. Heavily involved with Bielenberg Sports Center, the redo of that, a lot of other major projects. I'm the current chair of the Woodbury Yellow Ribbon Network, on the board of the K-9 Foundation, work with some homeless groups, volunteer church, 2 adult daughters, and some grandkids.
Shelby, do you want to just tell Julie a little bit about yourself?
My name is Shelby Paul. I am the Director of Student Success at the Academy for Sciences and Agriculture in Middle Canada. I worked with Ben and Kathy in St. Cloud, and then I moved to Oakdale, right out to Tuners Lake. So when the position came open, they reached out and said, hey, you're like in our community now. So here I am.
And it's been so nice for us because we'll oftentimes say, Shelby, what are you guys doing?
What do you guys
so
do?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so nice to have a different perspective. So, and Shannon.
I'm Shannon Kelly. I am currently the Director of Events for US Bank Stadium, and before that was the Director of Event Safety and Risk Management in Denver for the stadiums and arenas out there. My mother is Mary Kelly, who used to do special ed here. I moved from Denver back to St. Paul in 2018, I believe. I was just looking to reestablish being here. I hadn't lived here since high school. Had been gone for 12 years or 14 years after that. So she told me there was this community member position on the board, and I thought it was a great way to jump in and get involved. And I don't have any kids. I don't live in Woodbury, but I'm very committed to the vision and mission of this school, and excited to still be here 4 years later, which is wild. So it's nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yes. We
Thank
love
you, everyone.
Shannon's- Yes. So, well, welcome to the board.
Welcome.
Okay. So let's move on to a discussion about strategic planning. I did include in the packet, but then also passed you, I think, a paper copy here of kind of the timeline. So maybe just as a reminder of sort of where we left off at last meeting was that we had decided to go with Big River Group. I don't know if he's a chairman or what do you call him? The leader of Big River, the leader of the Big River Group is Bruce Miles. And so maybe the first step he was going to do was to make a phone call to each of you. Have you guys all heard from Bruce? You probably wouldn't have yet, Julie, obviously. I didn't give him your information, but Natalie, did you get a chance to talk with Bruce?
I have not talked with him. I don't think I received.
Okay.
I might have.
Okay.
Yes, he reached out, but we haven't connected.
Okay, okay. You're the same.
Yes, I just haven't had a chance to.
That's fine.
Is it possible for him to email out to us so we can set up a time?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if I.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Why don't you guys initiate that if you want to? So his email address, I guess I would need to probably give that to you, right? I'm trying to look here to see if it's on any of this information, but I will make a note to myself to just make sure you guys have that contact info, and then you could reach out to him and set up a time to talk. Okay, perfect. And Julie will do the same for you. So I'll probably just send it to all of you. That way you just have it. Okay. Okay, so the next part of the process was they came up with a survey to send. They were going to send it to all board members, employees, community members, and then we had also talked about students. And so I did bring that as well. So this other paper that I had passed out here is the survey that Big River Group came up with. I did ask just a little bit about the survey. They mentioned that this is the one that they have traditionally used for other schools. I did check. We had another school in our area, MSA, who had used the same company to do strategic planning at their school, and they said yes, this was the same survey they had used for them, and it seemed to have worked well. So I guess would love to, just whatever questions you guys might have about the timeline, the survey.
So what is the timeline? I guess I was surprised to see that there was something planned to go out this week, and I talked to Bruce, and he was equally surprised that the board had not seen any of this, and that we were planning to send something out. So,
okay,
what is the timeline at this point? Are we sending surveys out this week, and are we communicating to stakeholders ahead of time that these surveys are coming? I guess I was just kind of surprised to see that it was moving forward this quickly, and we hadn't even looked at what the timeline components looked like.
Sure, okay. So the timeline is here on the page. So let's go over that first then, maybe, and then we'll talk about the survey. So the phone calls were the first thing, and then the email survey links would be the next component of it. And then the survey, the information would go straight to, how are these? Will go straight to Bruce, and then he would summarize that information and come to our next board meeting to give us that summary. And then following that would be the virtual sessions that he would hold with each of the stakeholder groups. So the employee session would be, he had scheduled it for March 28th. The student parliament session he thought would be on March 23rd. Community and parent session on March 31st. And then the final board and admin session would be at the April meeting.
How is he finding, I guess, which parents are joining these sessions? And I guess it's pretty straightforward for Parliament or the student parliament, but or employees. Like, how is he? Do you know that?
So my understanding is it's not targeted employees or parents. It's open to anyone. So an invitation would go out to all parents and would go out to all employees, and then students. I think he was thinking I think his vision was that, parents and employees, he has a lot of practice and is really good at, controlling that and facilitating that. But he said students is a little tougher to facilitate because they don't
Especially the young ones.
Yeah, especially the young ones.
So
And
he's
so,
saying it's a high school group.
yeah, so he had asked if there was like a smaller group of students that might be a good group to kind of get to. So I think the survey itself could go out for students, for example. We had talked about maybe, and I would love your guys' input on this, but maybe like 5th grade and above for the surveys. And then thinking that younger than that, it would get a little tough to get a lot of constructive feedback, but I'm open to whatever you guys think on that.
They would all get the same survey, like
Yep.
the students would get the same.
Yep.
So I guess maybe tagging on to Natalie's question, so are we sharing emails, addresses with them? Is that how they're getting the contact information, or how is the survey actually going out?
Right, so we would distribute the survey. We have the links to the survey, so the information would go straight to them. So we would do a little lead-in of this is what it is, and we'd love for you to participate in our strategic planning, and then it would have a link to the survey, and at that point, the information would go straight back to them.
This also just looks really similar to what I feel like we just talked about, and so I don't know how, like, if we did blast it out, how to make it different to families, like, this is important.
I know.
Because it's for strategic planning.
Well, that's what I wondered, do we send, is it helpful to send something out ahead of time, just so that
We definitely
people
can.
are prepped and ready and know this is coming? Because we do want to get a good turnout, obviously.
Right.
I don't know if it'd be possible to send out, like, we've met our strategic, or like, kind of the summary that we already have gone through as a board of our previous goals, and that we've met those, and like,
Or do they have a like a lead-in that they would recommend too? I don't know.
I could probably, we could for sure ask him that. So you think maybe 2 emails might be helpful to each stakeholder group, like a prep email, and then with the link?
This is coming, look forward to it. Yeah, I love that.
And then I'm sure we'll follow up after that too. Okay,
What is the thought on, as community members, does he mean parents?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And community board members. But other than that, unless, we could I mean, in the past, when we have reached out for this kind of stuff in the surveys, like sometimes I've sent it to like Sean or Brenda, or just people I could think of that kind of partner with us. Even, I don't know if for Sean would make sense. I mean, just people that, or you have a lot of contractors and people that you work with too.
That work with the school, yeah.
Yeah, so we did kind of come up with a list of, like Judith, or, people who serve on our committees who, aren't a parent, but we work with closely, so we could include those kind of people as well.
Well, the more feedback, the better. When we did strategic planning 3 years ago, I don't think we did any of these surveys. Does anybody remember? We just came together as a group and we said, well, these are four broad and good things to do, but I love the idea of sending out a memo ahead of time and then here comes the survey.
I think it also is really nice for
Is
Bruce.
is there feedback along the way from Big River to the board, or is it really kind of the April date that we see, or we have the next touch point?
So they come to the March meetings, that'll be our next one, with summarized results from the survey. And then they would hold the virtual sessions, and I'm not really maybe I would want to ask him that. I'm not really sure why it says surveys summarized and results delivered March 18th and the 23rd. I'm not really sure what would happen the 18th, but I know their board meeting is on the 23rd. So maybe I could ask him that. Yeah, maybe so. That's what it is, because I said I'd need them on the 18th, on Friday, so we could send them on the board packet. That's exactly what that is, yeah.
Do you guys have like software or something that pushes out text notifications?
Yeah.
I think sending a text that says,
Over community.
that.
Yeah, right.
Can we text the survey? Yeah, even if it's like a short, like a hyperlink, the little tiny URLs or whatever. I know that our parents constantly give us feedback that they would prefer a text to an email, that if it's something that they really need to know about, text stuff, don't email.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So what is the, I'm probably stepping out of my lane here.
No, go
but
ahead.
What is the, he uses these, I know he uses these, and they just kind of throw out a wide net and you get some things to be put on the mind, but it's not a survey that says, are you for or against starting a pre-K or a high school, and if so, what does the high school look like? What kind of extracurriculars do we want? Do we want a lunch program? It's not that kind of a survey, so at some point, we really want that specific information from parents, so I don't know if that will go out in June or next September, or, I don't know if it can be folded in.
Like in the initial email where we're saying like, here's the process that we're starting, you could even include like some things that might be on the horizon, like, just ideas that if they think
Descriptors.
if those are important to them, please include that in the survey.
Yeah, maybe there's another question that, or, I don't know, like a free form. Because it's, right now, it's these two, right? So what's working well and what's not working, and maybe there's a third that's,
Just like
things like that.
ideas or suggestions.
The board, maybe you guys should be thinking about this, or.
Yeah. I'd really like
Yeah, that is a good point, I guess, Natalie. Yeah, should we, within our lead-in, suggest things that we hear often and encourage them, like if you have thoughts on high school, pre-K, I don't know, lunch program.
What other topics should the board be, do you think the board should be considering during the strategic planning process?
I just wonder if like people don't even, unless they're coming and listening to it, do they even know if pre-K is on our radar, like, they might, but it might not even, they might not even know that's something we're considering.
So I wonder if there should be a lengthier communication coming out from myself or from Mandy and I in behalf of the board and the school, as far as, here's some things that we're looking at, and
help us shape our future or something.
right?
Like that.
You'll get more information about strategic planning, but we really want your input on some of these things. Because some of those things, as we all know, take a while to plan and launch.
And just putting the disclaimer, like, it does not mean we're adding a high school.
Yeah,
This is a
right.
conversation.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll put that on my list to kind of craft with, anybody want to volunteer to help wordsmith that? Natalie?
I can.
Okay.
this would probably then push his timeline back, probably a little bit, because if we're gonna send out a,
It won't push it, I'll just get my stuff out quick.
and then, but his was supposed to go out on the 14th of February. And it was gonna be out for a month.
But it didn't, so we've got mine.
Yeah, I did wonder that though. I was just looking at, because March 15th is the day after we come back from spring break, or is the day we come back from spring break, right? So that probably is not the most ideal date, especially if we send it out, next week when spring break is starting. So we can,
I guess we could always see what the turnout looks
Yeah,
like at
true.
that point too.
and if we need to extend it, we can.
But
Yeah.
most people, I think, that respond to surveys, they do it, pretty much right away. They don't need a month to do it. By then,
No,
you forgot
right.
about it after 3 days.
Yeah.
And will he, this might be into the nitty-gritty, but will he send or should we be sending a follow-up, it's been out for 3 days, we get one more bump, and then we.
Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes, I think so,
Or we would be
yes.
doing that, I guess.
No, I think we would be doing that. I think that,
Well, we can do that.
yeah, yep.
What do we call that, a bump?
A bump.
When I come to you tomorrow morning and say, what was that?
That's a bump.
That was a bump, yeah. A reminder, okay.
So. It's not a big deal, but I did send this to you guys earlier to look at, I think I just saw it January 31st. I sent it just to let you guys know what the timeline was. So I had not sent the survey out for sure. But this did go out a little while ago. I didn't hear from anyone, so I didn't know that there was other questions, but,
And that we really worked backwards with him, wanting to get some things decided before we run out of school year.
yeah, and we could bump it into May if we needed to, but it just would be nice. I think that was part of the reason we went with them is because we knew that they could work on it in the next month or so. And so that was kind of part of the reason we wanted to try to get it in here quick.
I feel like it'll still, the general timeline will still work, especially if you get out.
Yep.
Okay.
Brainstorming one.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess maybe, what do you guys think? Would you want to add another question, a specific question about some of these things? Do you want another question on the survey? Or do you think just more information on the lead-in about things that we're considering is good
I
enough?
think there should be another question. I think there should be a third, but I don't know how to say it,
Okay, well, what are you trying, what do you think?
You could say something like, what other topics should the board consider within the strategic planning
Okay.
process or something like that?
Something like that.
More in line with the school's vision. What is your vision for WLA?
Yeah,
For
yeah.
growth or potential?
Okay.
Ooh. You gonna work on that?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah, you can help me with that. Natalie,
Okay.
Julie, and Andy. Yeah, a third question I think would be good. That'll be kind of like a wish list.
2 questions just seems odd to me.
It's
It's like not enough. It's like, what are you really wanting to know?
But I think that's how he elicits these broad strokes. So if the common theme that keeps coming up is lack of communication or non-skilled teachers or, love our teachers or whatever those things are, you're going to capture them in those 2 questions. But we're not going to hear some of that stuff that we might need to take quicker action on, like a lunch program.
Did he get into then kind of how the sessions get shaped?
He didn't really, and I'm interested to see how he does that. He does it all. He said that he would want we talked a little bit about which, as a board member, would we attend all of them, or is that, I don't know, is it awkward to attend all of them? But then also, if all the board members are in attendance, then we have a quorum, which can create a problem. So he said he thought that board members should attend the ones that you kind of generally are. So if you're a community member, you attend the, community one. If you're an employee, you'd attend the employee one. And he said Kathy should probably attend all 3, but that he would recommend that she does a brief intro at the beginning and says, acknowledges that she's there, but she's there really to just be a listening participant. And that she wouldn't really be like answering the questions if it's not a Q&A, you know, it's just a listening session. And he said that he has a lot of practice facilitating them, because I mean, I don't know how I envision them happening either, and trying to keep people on task and not get off on tangents. But he said that that's his job and that's what he does, and that they go really well. And I don't know.
I'd be curious to see if he gets like a wide range of parents, not just like the most vocal ones, you know, who are willing to come
Yeah.
and voice their opinion. You know,
Yeah.
just so that he can get their.
And it's virtual too, so hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
So I actually heard the opposite from Bruce. I heard that, and this is what math and science did too, it's not to say it's right or wrong,
Yeah.
but that the recommendation was that the board abstain from attending
Oh, interesting.
all of the meetings.
Yeah, I was going to say something about that, because it feels like if the whole board showed up, you know, there's kind of it's kind of like throwing a wet blanket, you know, you really want to encourage everyone.
Open discussion.
So
I'm
even
fine with
myself
either
as a
one,
leader, I have
yeah.
background.
Yeah, no, and I am fine with either one. I think but he just was like, well, if you're a parent, I don't want to discourage you that you can't go to the parent one. I don't actually care if I go to the parent one or not. So I think I do think that if we abstained, that would make it easier, because then we wouldn't have to worry about the board quorum thing. Because if you think about the community one, that would actually involve you, me, Jason, Shannon, and Shelby. So we'd have a quorum there. So that would be hard. Yeah. So we could make a decision as a board that we would abstain from them.
How does that work for the board session then? Is like, I guess that's an open
It's a meeting.
that the
It's at a
public-
meeting. That's
we
kind of the, yep.
broadcast it? Yeah. okay.
Yep. So that's kind of when he does summarize and bring back, both times that he comes, those will be board meetings. So they'll be open.
And he couldn't be here tonight to answer some of these questions directly. I think he was doing a superintendent search for
He
someone.
was, yeah.
Okay, I'm feeling better. And I was part of it.
Where do you envision WLA in 5 years?
Oh,
That leaves it very open.
I love that.
Very open-ended.
Yep.
And maybe this is too much, but and what kind of things does it offer?
Or I can just we can list some examples.
And I kind of almost like not to list examples and see what they come up with, you know, because I feel like if you list examples, they'll just, well, maybe not.
Check.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
all of those things. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like that one, Shelby.
Okay, so we're sticking with the timeline. We're adding a question there. We're going to over-communicate. We're going to send a text out ahead of time. We're going to highlight strategic plan goals that have already been met, and then Mandy, Natalie, and Julie are going to help me do some wordsmithing on this. And we'll also send out a bumper or reminder to complete the survey a few days after it's gone out.
If we can email, or not email, text the survey, if that's at all technologically possible, I think that would also be, I don't know if you already have.
Oh, that's a good thought.
Just
We
'cause I
could do
will
that.
More likely to do something just like you said.
Yeah.
Like when you click it and do
fill
it
in
right
ideas,
there in
you
the
know.
moment.
Yeah.
do it.
I'm
If I
so
have to go
lost on
find
that.
it somewhere, I'm
Okay.
not going to.
I'll
Okay.
Include the link in the text, yeah.
Okay.
We can do that, as long as, how many characters do we get?
Well, you can do those tiny URLs. Have you ever heard that?
Oh.
You put a tiny URL and you can put any URL in there.
gosh.
And it'll shrink it down.
Shelby, that's brilliant.
Smart
Tiny
today.
URL, okay.
Link and text the surveys go out. Right, text,
Okay. Okay.
Is that all good to everybody?
Good, all right. Okay, let's move into school communication. Ryan, I might pass that to you and get your thoughts. You had asked to add it to the agenda, so.
No, I thought it would be beneficial just to have a conversation on communication generally. I mean, I think there's a couple of things that popped up recently, and I think they were more related to some of the social media sites, and there's questions on what's official communication, what's not official communication, and I think it's helpful just to let the community know, what is and what isn't. I think the Facebook site in particular can be challenging. It's great for parents to kind of discuss things, and when there's members of the board on there taking surveys and things like that, then I think it starts to blur the lines a little bit. And especially there was an incident with a substitute last month, and there was a lot of questions being raised on Facebook, and it was confusing, I think, for a lot of parents. So that was just kind of my comment is, how do we make sure we stay in the right lanes and really make sure that there's defined avenues of communication. I think if parents are going to social media for information on school affairs, probably suggest that we've had a gap in communication, if that's not a channel that they should be relying on. So if we're saying that they shouldn't rely on social media, then I think, are we communicating frequently enough and the right manner that parents are getting the information that they need? So, I looked at other schools too, and to see what they do, and like a lot of schools, the administration will send a weekly newsletter out that'll have dates and things like that, and then those are all saved on the website too. So I know that the teachers do send newsletters out, which is very helpful. It's nice to have that repository then, especially if it's calendar type items or watch for these dates or whatever, to be able to go back and just click on the website and say, hey, okay, here's all the newsletters that have gone out. I can easily go see what the school has said.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear, discussion if there is any, or maybe I'm coming way out of left field, but I think, especially the chatter the last month from that site in particular, it seemed like there was a lot of questions on what parents should think of as official versus non-official school communication.
I'm going to jump in first, so thanks for bringing this up. I love the repository of documents. I think that's good. And part of me listing that in the director's report was just so that we all had some references of what does the school do to communicate. And I think what you said earlier, you can't over-communicate, is good. So I think one of the things that we'll do as a school is communicate out. This is how we communicate out, and here's where stuff is, and then we'll establish that repository of documents. But for me, and I guess this is a question for the group, the parents' social media or Facebook, I'll just be real candid. I think a lot of the time I'm confused. Like if I hear from Jolene or somebody that something was on there, I'm like, well, why wouldn't they call the school for that? Or why wouldn't they look on the website for that? Or so in my mind, a parent going to another parent is because they really want an interaction with another parent. They don't necessarily want to go to where the information is or call the school directly or email the info line. I think they want the camaraderie or the opinions or the sharing. I think they want that bonding time, which is, I think, wonderful. But I just think that they should know that's your universe, that's not ours. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't want to ramble away, but could we assign someone to?
Facebook site, like the actual WLA Facebook?
They go to they go to their own Facebook fan. I don't know how it was established.
Yeah, years ago, so I created it years ago before I was a board member. We actually had a different one that had been started by a different WLA parent, and it got kind of negative, and so that one actually, but I think people enjoyed having it because it was a place to go, like, is free dress day tomorrow? Just like even little questions like that. It was really helpful for that kind of thing. What?
Nothing, we were just talking about, do we have an official one? And
No, we do, for sure.
We have
Yeah.
an official.
Yeah.
Then there's the
Yes,
secret or not
yes.
secret.
And I would say our official one is definitely public facing. It's very good for marketing. I think some of the dialogue that happens on the internal Facebook, I'll call it, well, not internal, I don't know what the word would be, the private Facebook page is not probably, I shouldn't say it isn't stuff you want the public to see, but it's kind of nice to have that opportunity to voice opinions or thoughts about things, and it doesn't affect maybe future enrollment or that kind of things. So it started, probably 2017 it started. It's not, and I'll say this, I mean, I can close it, like, I mean, I don't mind doing that. I do think, I would venture to say the parents who are on it enjoy having a place where they can build community. I do feel like the last couple of years especially, because it's been hard to meet people, like it is kind of nice to have a place to go. I do see, I'm a member of like a South Washington County parent page as well, and sometimes people will post on there, for example, is, tomorrow free dress day at WLA, and it's not for WLA, maybe they'd say for Gray Cloud Elementary, and it kind of makes me sad that like, oh, you don't have your own like place to go to ask that to like your parents. They have to do it on a much broader site, and I think that, I don't know, I think it's nice to have parents have a place to go, but I don't know the right answer of how much
I'm not advocating to shut it down. I think it's just important that if there's board members communicating on there, it's very clear that it is not communication from the school, because then you have, if you're not consistent, then you have parents relying on that Facebook page, and like that incident that happened, that's how I learned about it. The school didn't communicate until the next day. And so I think that's where you can run into some follies with that.
Right. Yeah, I think that was a good learning point. So I was off-site that day, but Ben called me and said, that we had an incident with a substitute teacher, and I decided not to communicate home at that point. In my mind, I was thinking that team of teachers that would be our normal course of action, but by the next day, I realized my error and communicated that out. And it was kind of in conjunction with, we were told about a minor traffic police presence, but we weren't told about this other much more significant event. That's where I kind of clarified in my notes tonight that we always call or let people know, because you don't want a kindergarten kiddo to go home and say the police were at our school, and then the parents to think, oh no, what happened? So those two things are a little bit separate, but I think communicating out, like we said, this is how we communicate. But I think the other thing is that when we have our parents that are also board members or even teachers at the school, that we probably should have a protocol of join in and just let them know, I've got my parent hat on now, or just make it real clear and have PTO. Is PTO doing that website now? Is that what I heard? And or Facebook, just to clear it up. I think to clear it up.
It's a great way, like Mandy said, it's a great way to build community. And like I see parents, hey, I've got a sweatshirt that doesn't fit my kids. And that's fantastic. I think my question was just more around like what can we or should we be doing as board members, and how do we make sure it's not, if it really isn't the communication channel, how do we make sure that it's not seen that way?
Right.
So from an outsider, like just going onto the WLA parents, I'm guessing is what it is. It does say, like, you have to request to join, and then you have to read this little thing, and it does say, sharing your concerns on this site is not a substitute for speaking directly to school administration. So it does clearly state that. So I think anyone who goes into this group is going in knowing you're not speaking to school representatives. It's for the parents of children at the Woodbury.
And I mean, I will, from my perspective, I get either sometimes I'm tagged specifically in them, or there's a lot of questions that like I feel like I get asked, and I often answer them. I have quit answering them last month because I guess I don't really know what to do. I mean, I'm happy to answer those questions if it's something that I know about, but then I also, if we don't want them going there to ask questions, maybe I don't answer those questions. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
That's where I go, like, what are the questions, and if those are if it's questions about dates or whatever, are we missing communication somewhere else that should be like coming through a weekly newsletter or something, or is there a gap somewhere else? I guess if parents are going there.
I don't think there's a gap. I think it's just that I think that they're just reaching out to, is a free dress day tomorrow. Well, they could go on the website, or they could send a quick text, and I think it's kind of a family preference, because when I reflect, I don't really see gaps, although again, I'll say I love the repository of documents, but I think that in addition to that disclaimer, it should just be, you know, if Ryan or Mandy are on there and they're going to answer saying, you know, just with my teacher hat on, I mean with my parent hat on, here's where I'm at.
I would also say on the governance agenda is a conduct policy for, I think, it's going to be for board members and for potentially staff, I'm not sure. But it'll be a new policy that we're making, so stuff like this, like social media presence, is definitely something that should probably be in that.
We've had some things, we've all, I don't know if we've all been aware of this, but at other schools, maybe Shelby School, certainly not at our school, but, you know, every now and then you'll have a disgruntled employee, a custodian, a teacher, or whatever that will go on and just blast the school, and that's probably not the kind of person you want working for your organization if they're not a believer and a supporter of the organization. So we haven't had any of those problems yet, but we want to have a process in place for it if we do.
As city council, we did not interact on Facebook at all.
Okay.
Period. And it just, that's the decision we made, just to make it very cut and dried. And there were times, depending on what you're commenting on, it could be a violation of the open meeting law.
True.
Did you just say you weren't allowed to have Facebook? Does that make sense?
We did not comment on anything on the city's Facebook.
Got it, on the city's, right.
Yep, we could share things on our own page if it was informational or something.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about elections or anything like that on the city page. We had to have our own separate if we were going that direction. But just right at the beginning, when we got our page and social media started up, we were like, ooh, this could be a cesspool. We're staying out of it.
But those aren't the kind of things that are coming up, Julia, in this, from what I have seen and heard over the last 5 years. It's more of the, just, you know, is it free dress day tomorrow? It's usually just real.
I'm not saying, like, yes, I think we should have a high school or anything like that. It is like, I can't even think of an example, but someone, I think the latest one that they tagged me in that I didn't respond to was, do you think there'd be any way we, like, could get more cameras in the building? And so normally I would respond to something like that and say, you know, that would be something good you could send to the facilities committee, like, here's the contact info or something. So it's more like, it's not
Managing or fielding the questions, you're not giving an opinion, I guess.
I'm not expressing or trying not to. I know maybe that comes across. I don't intend to, but and if I do, I try to make a positive opinion. But
you can always redirect as a board member on lots of those kinds of things. You'll say, you know, you need to talk to the school or you need to talk to Kathy.
Yeah.
On some of that, but
And maybe that's what we need is just kind of parameters, because I know we have used it to collect, like, to do surveys.
Yeah,
Back
I
to
use
the
it.
history. So we have, that's where I see the lines getting blurred, is if some of the things do look like school business, and so then do you run into problems where you run a survey on a closed group, and I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, one time you said you think parents would want to have 2 weeks for winter break. And so I said, I can pull the parent group just to get like a sampling of, would you want 2 weeks off for winter break, or would you want?
But that wasn't everybody then, that was the 20 people or whatever that might have been on there, right?
Yeah. But it was
I gotcha.
Yeah, so no, I hear you. And,
I would think it would be nice, like Ryan said, have an established list sent to parents of official sites to get information from.
Yep.
I think that parents often forget their first avenues to contact your teacher.
Yeah.
That's where she goes first. And so maybe having that established, this is your list. Do you want to be on the official Woodbury Leadership Academy Facebook page? Do we have an Instagram? I mean, all those official sites should be noted somewhere for parents, so if they want to join, they can.
Yep.
But I think that they should be run by Kylie, who's in charge of our media.
Yep.
And just to be clear, I have no issue with the information sharing on there. I think it just kind of goes back to consistency. So like if it is going to be a communication channel, then, you know, we should just make sure that we're consistently communicating everything there and not, you know, onesie-twosies.
Yeah, good.
It's for entertainment purposes only.
There's a lot of that.
It is entertaining, yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
Take it as such.
And I feel like I feel like do anything wrong because
No,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
not what
having
I'm
that
saying at all.
conversation.
Yeah.
in my-
Yeah,
I think the questions were more like, there was that whole discussion on there, and then the email came out from school that said we don't monitor this, so then parents are like, well.
Clearly you
what-
do
what-
if you're,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess what I would hate to see happen is for, parents to get the idea that they don't need to approach administrative or their teacher to talk about it. They can just talk about it on Facebook and we'll respond. And that's what I think is a little bit hard, is I don't know, to set the stage. Like, I want them to reach out to admin when they have issues.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we want them also to build relationships with each other and reach out to each other too, so it's interesting. Okay, I've got some, every time we have a meeting like this, I just have a list of stuff to do. So, but
Do
I've
you
got
guys
some
have like
things.
a family directory or?
We used to when our school was smaller. We don't anymore.
We did an opt-in last year.
Yeah.
So that families who did want a place to connect could opt in to share their information with each other.
Yeah.
I don't know, do teachers do that? I mean, they used to, like, here's our classroom directory, so they can have play dates or things.
Oh, yeah, that's
Opt into
right.
your classroom.
Birthday party invite.
Yeah, that came up during my COVID, the first COVID spring, and just parents wanting to communicate and have online play dates and stuff like that, and I think that would be a good other to-do. if we were able to do it.
Yeah,
Community builder, maybe not now, but next year.
okay.
Okay.
Good, well, I'm thankful that we had the discussion, it helps me, gives me some more things to reflect on too.
Okay, and if you want anything to change with that website, I don't know, or want us to communicate in a different way on there, just let us know. I guess. Okay.
Good.
Okay. ICT team update. So, as you likely already know or have seen, the ICT team 2 weeks ago came to a decision that we would move to optional masking or strongly recommended masking at some point in time. They just weren't sure what the actual date should be. So there's some different dates tossed around. There was 833 was moving to optional masking after President's Day weekend, so that was one of the considerations. After spring break was another consideration, and so I think and maybe you could talk about this because you did a lot of staff inquiry, so I think at that point Kathy kind of came to staff and really talked to them about preferences and...
Really, I just want to take a pulse on what I consider to be a qualitative analysis and just kind of have open-ended conversations just to kind of check out to how people were feeling. And it was all over the board. We had some staff members that were, no, we really need to stay fully masked for an indeterminate amount of time. And then we had others at the other end of the spectrum that were ready, I don't think liking not to mask, but ready to move on because of the difficulty with teaching or with the personal, they were all over the board, and it was very good for me to listen deeply and come away with, I know pretty much how this one and this one and this one and this one kind of feel about it. I think one of the mistakes I made in that, though, is I quantified, which is very difficult to quantify a qualitative analysis. And I think some of our folks thought that what they shared was going to be put in the decision-making cauldron. And it was not meant for that. It was meant to get a read on how everyone felt about it, because that decision was coming anyway. Sooner or later, before or after spring break. I think we could all read the writing on the wall. So I felt that it was really advantageous for me to understand where each individual staff member was at. And I think I'm rambling.
So we landed on February 28th is the date, and I think since that announcement has gone out, we really haven't had a ton of feedback, which I take that as a good sign. I think maybe by saying the decision had been made and that we were waiting to figure out a date, and I think that just, like you said, I think seeing so many other organizations move towards that same decision has helped. So February 8th, mass will come.
28th.
28th.
Yeah.
Will become optional, and we'll see how
But I
it
would
goes.
remind everybody, including myself, just to be real respectful. They're still highly recommended, and to be respectful, because everyone has a different experience with this COVID journey that none of us have wanted to be on.
Yep.
And just a huge dose of respect and non-judgment is helpful as we continue to get through it.
Yep.
They do still have to wear them on buses, though.
Short time, it looks like that mandate will be lifted March 18th.
They might extend it. I mean, that's not under our
They might
control,
extend
but
it,
I would venture to say, seeing what's happening, they might not too, but we'll see.
Has that been communicated to families? That like their student will still need a mask for like that little bit of time?
I'll add that to my list.
Sorry.
No, good, thank you.
What was the question?
I feel like maybe it was in the memo.
Students who ride the bus are
Right.
still gonna need to wear a mask for
pull it
about
up?
2 weeks
Yeah.
after we lift
Right.
ours. So just making sure families know that if
We're
their student
gonna-
rides the bus.
Gotcha.
We're going to check to make sure it was not communicated out already, but if it wasn't, I will.
I don't think it was in the ICT.
No.
Okay.
Was not? Okay.
Was not? Okay. Reminder. And I'll check with Dan, of course. I don't think that they would remove theirs before. I mean, it is in place till the 18th.
Nope. Okay. So we'll have to add that. Okay, questions for ICT? Okay, we meet tomorrow again, so I don't know. It's always something to discuss.
Tomorrow. It's Thursday already.
I know. Okay. Board communication, future agenda items, reflection. Anything to share? Or thoughts or concerns or?
I know Jolene's really hungry, but I would just add that I really appreciate working with this board. I'll be really quick. I just really appreciate the hard work that all of you do, so thank
So
you.
you didn't get your dinner? No.
And she's the one that instigated the whole thing.
No. Oh, I'm sorry, Jolene.
Order 4 pillows right now. No.
Thanks, Kathy. We enjoy working with you too. Okay. Our next regularly scheduled Board of Directors meeting will be Wednesday, March 23rd, 5:30, same place. And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Second.
There's been a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nancy, for all of that running around to get